My name is Sidney Combs, and I'm a young entrepreneur from Shreveport, Louisiana. Who is Childs on the beat? The best producer in Louisiana. You can go to whoischilds.com and check him out. Got his own YouTube page also. My name is Sidney Combs, young entrepreneur from Shreveport, Louisiana. And the message is about greatest investment advice ever. But I want everyone to know who I am. Sidney Combs from Shreveport, Louisiana, and I'm 38 years old. And the message that I make this for the person that come from the bottom. I make my message for the people that come from nothing. I make my message for the boy that never knew who his father was, or the girl that never knew who her father was, or the person that didn't even know who their mom was. I do this for the person that might grew up in foster care. I do this for the person that was strung out on drugs. I do this for the person at the end of the day that might have been a prostitute. I do this for the person that might have committed that crime and they knew that what they did, they were wrong. I'm not judging them, but I am judging what they did. Now, at the end of the day, if they are all for changing, I'm 100% for them. Because at the end of the day, I'm not perfect. I make a lot of mistakes. And I don't want anyone to listen to me and think that I have all the answers, that I'm perfect, that I'm a know-it-all. I'm just going through the steps in life, and I'm letting you all understand and know who I am as a person, and letting you see my journey to become the best version of myself that I possibly can become. At the end of the day, I'm just trying to be great. That's it. Great in whatever way that greatness take me. So when I wake up every day, I figure out and ask myself, what can I do to invest in myself? What can I do to be the best man I need to be? And I want everyone listening to this to tell themselves, hey, what can I do to be the best version of myself that I possibly can become? Because this is what I'm trying to do, and I'm making this for you. Now, at the end of the day, it's about the greatest investment. Now, Apple, in 2021, it grew 30%. Microsoft grew a little bit over 30%. So those are two amazing investments. They're two amazing and wonderful investments. Now, you have to ask yourself, what investment can he tell me that's better than that? Because if I invest in a stock or an investment that gives me a 30% gain, that means if I invest $1,000, I'm basically gonna get $300 back. That means I went from $1,000 to $1,300. That's a pretty good investment. If I invest $10,000, that means I have $13,000. I mean, I invested 10 and I got 3 in return, 3,000 back in return. It's pretty good. But I got a better investment than that, and that's investing in yourself. Focused on you to be the best version of yourself you possibly can be. Now, in order to do that, you have to start feeding your subconscious mind. Invest in your subconscious mind. Now, a lot of people might be wondering, well, what's my subconscious mind? It's the mind that you can't control that's inside of you. So 2 hours before you go to sleep, and the first 2 hours when you wake up in the morning, it's working its strongest. Because what happens is this. If you go to sleep at night and you decide to watch the news right before you go to sleep, and it tells you about the killing and the murdering and the poverty, guess what happens? When you go to sleep, all that's being programmed inside of you. Right? So you wake up in the next morning, you don't feel like you have a chance to win in this world. And let's say when you wake up in the morning, you say, hey, you know what? I'm going to listen to this gangster music. I'm going to listen to this music talking about robbing and killing. I'm going to listen to this music talking about that dope deal. Guess what happens? You programmed your mind to think negative. And if you programmed and you've been listening to nothing but people talking about killing and Dracos and carrying choppers, guess what happens? You can get into a simple altercation, a simple argument with someone. First thing you think, let me get my gun. And it's like, why? You've been programmed to think that way. Your mind has been programmed because you fed your subconscious mind. So your subconscious mind, all it knows is whatever you feed it. Your subconscious mind is so powerful to a point where you can tell yourself a lie and your brain will not know the difference between the lie and the truth. If you feed your subconscious mind, if you keep telling yourself a lie, your brain will not know that you're telling it a lie. It'll believe it. I give an example. Let's say you woke up every day and you say, hey man, I'm a millionaire. I'm wealthy. And you went into the world every day with that mindset. I'm going to carry myself a certain way, and I'm going to focus on building a business. I'm going to focus on investing my money just like I'm wealthy. Guess what's going to happen? At some point in time, you're going to become wealthy. Why? Because you programmed your brain to think that way. And then you started acting on it. Just because you talk means nothing. Talking means absolutely nothing. It's what you do with it. What are you doing with it? You have to start programming your subconscious mind. If you decide at the end of the day, say, hey, when I wake up in the morning, I'm going to listen to positive music. I'm going to listen to YouTube page and listen to someone that talks positive. Guess what's going to happen? You're going to go through your day thinking positive. Why? Because you fed your subconscious mind to understand how important it is for you to be positive. Same way it goes with positive, it goes with negative. If you feed it negative, guess what's going to happen? You're going to think and become negative. So you got to ask yourself, if you have a negative mindset, why do you have that mindset? Because you've been programmed that way. And poverty comes that way. So what happens is, if you grow up and as a kid your mom was poor, your dad was poor, your grandma was poor, your grandfather was poor, your great-granddad was poor, it's a pretty good chance you're going to be poor. You know why? Because your subconscious mind is programmed in poverty. And you never read a book because you didn't invest in yourself. You never went to a seminar because you didn't invest in yourself. So because of that, guess what happens? You're going to grow up in poverty. If you grow up in a situation where everybody told you at the end of the day, hey, men are nothing. Or they say, man, women ain't nothing. And you heard it over and over and over again. Guess what's going to happen after so long? Your mind is programmed to think nobody's nothing. That black man ain't nothing. That black woman ain't nothing. Now that's how you think it. Why? Because your subconscious mind has been programmed to think that way. But when do we decide to read a book? When do we decide to read a book? They say the average black man read at a 7th grade level. Let that sink in. We're not programming our subconscious mind. My little nephew, I had a conversation with him, with Swag Champ, Christy, Carter, Kaylee, and Charity. And I talked to them about reading books, how important it is. So my little nephew decided to read a book. He read a book about Charlie Wilson. And he was telling me stuff about Charlie Wilson that I didn't even know. I was like, dawg, I didn't know that. But why? He started educating himself by just reading a book. Books have so much knowledge in it. But guess what? We run from the knowledge because we decide not to read a book. Somebody say, man, book $20. We'll say, $20? What I like paying for a book? Do you know how much that book can make you when you, in the long run? That can make you so much money by just paying for a book and reading. Read a book. I'm reading a book right now, A.G. Gaston. A lot of people don't know who he is. And he was a black man that was born in the late 1800s. And he died in the late 90s. I think he was like 104, 103. And this guy was worth over $100 million. And he built businesses. He's from Alabama, come from nothing. But guess what happened? At the end of the day, he ended up meeting George Washington Carver, if I'm not mistaken. I think he rather he met him or he ended up listening to him speak, something like that. But whatever happened was he was a huge influence in his life. Why? Because he searched for that extra knowledge. And at the end of the day, they say he dropped out in the 10th grade, but he still was searching for the knowledge. And at the end of the day, he wanted to be great. So while the Jim Crow was going on, while you had Malcolm X on this earth, you had Martin Luther King on this earth, A.G. Gaston was on this earth. And he helped the civil rights movement because he donated a lot to Martin Luther King when Martin Luther King would get locked up. He was a huge supporter. But now think about that for a second. You wouldn't know that if I didn't tell you that because you never read that book. But I only read that book because I invested in myself. See, people think investments are only, hey, what stock do I own? Hey, what business did I start? But it's more than that. It's about reading a book. When will you decide to read a book? When will you decide to go to a seminar? When will you decide to say, hey, you know what, I'm going to start going to night school because I think I can get a better job? When? When you going to invest in your health? You know you're overweight. You know at the end of the day that high blood pressure running in your family. Well, when you going to do what it takes in order for you to get in better shape, to become healthier? That's an investment in yourself also. See, the investment that I'm talking about, you can't get to the millions until you start investing in yourself first. You can't tell me you're going to become wealthy and you don't even invest in yourself. You can't tell me, man, I'm going to become wealthy, but I don't go to no seminar and I come from nothing. I had to listen to anyone that can teach me about becoming wealthy, but then say, hey, you want to be wealthy? And there's a lot of good books you can read. Even if you want to say, hey, there are certain type of books, or you only want to read about a black man, you might feel that way. Guess what? You got A.G. Gaston. You also have a book by Reginald Lewis, Why Should White Guys Have All the Fun? Great book. Great book. Check that book out. Read it. Start reading books and investing in yourself. You start investing in yourself, you'll be surprised. And go back and look at your history. Look at the people that came before you. And look at what the successful people did and the people that wasn't successful also. To figure out the mistakes that the people that was successful made. And look at the great things that the people that was successful did. So now that you can learn to be the best version of yourself. My name is Sidney Combs, and I'm a young entrepreneur from Shreveport, Louisiana with $1 and a dream. And I'd like for everyone to like and subscribe to the page. I also would like everyone check out Who Is Childs. This is the best producer in Louisiana. Check him out. He got his own YouTube page. Also, you can go to whoischilds.com